Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the GPVWC. We're coming home, ladies and gentlemen. It's the home of British motor racing this time out. It's Silverstone. It is the oldest Grand Prix venue of them all in Formula One, from the very first Formula One race in 1950, and it's a great venue for the Grand Prix Virtual World Championship this week. It's Formula Challenge night, of course, on a Tuesday night, and that means we're going to have some rip-roaring racing from the up-and-comers in the world of GPVWC. Apologies from the outset for being away for the last two rounds of the championship. I know, Monaco and Canada, my two favorite events on the calendar, and I had to go and miss them. I'm feeling incredibly guilty. However, we will make up for it, ladies and gentlemen. Do not worry. I will make sure we have an absolutely sensational day of racing ahead of us. It will be a sensational battle here on the Silverstone circuit, and we're going to have some pretty exciting racing to talk about, I can tell you, especially with Maciej Mlinek continuing his march in the championship lead, having won 5 races this year so far, including a very important one in the second race at Canada to reassert his championship advantage. 37 points clear of Roy Schroeter, with David Junt in the top 3 at this point of the proceedings. There's an incredibly close battle behind them as well in their mix for the championship fight as we continue on the fight for third position. It's David Junt, Chris Shepherd, James Early, Liam Duval, Mike Quint, Patrick Gerber and Menno Clont, all separated by just 20 points in the battle for third position. You wouldn't believe it if you tried to make it happen. It was absolutely incredible to see them all together. And here on the Northamptonshire circuit of Silverstone, it really is going to be an interesting battle. So far, it's all about Tuomas Koreala in the MDR Motorsport car number 58. He is the one who leads the charge in front of Patrick Gerber, although Patrick Gerber is desperately trying to overhaul him and just missed out on the last lap by 100th of a second. He's only 0.010 behind. He's going purple in the final 2 sectors, but it's that first sector that's so critical to get right, where he's just lacking. And purple in that first sector, by the way, now is the Scuderia Brasilia driver and championship leader, Maciej Mlinek. It's possibly his moment to go into pole position if he can just keep the pace up. He has got to be focusing now on making this happen. Patrick Gerber has bailed out on this first sector, so basically it is now up to him to try and find a little bit more. We've only got 6.5 minutes left of qualifying. Maciej Mlinek's second sector of 43.9. Shepherd goes purple in the second sector now, a 43.848 for him as he tries to work his way forward. But Maciej Mlinek is trying his best as he comes into the Vale chicane at the end of a tough lap. He wants to make this race happen, and he wants to make a pole position come his way out of the final turn. Is he going to get that pole position this time? The best chance of getting himself more points will follow if he does. Yep. Job done. 141.935. He is the first driver to break into the 101 second barrier. Absolutely amazing work from Maciej Mlinek. 1 minute 41.935 to go 0.28 seconds clear of Tuomas Koreala. Chris Shepherd is 4th position behind Patrick Gerber. He's just finished his lap time. Did not get the best of final sectors. Who else is on a screamer of a lap? Well, personal bests are coming in from Roy Schroeter on this lap. And that's important, of course, because he is the 2nd position in the standings, thanks to his consistency and 2 victories this year in Australia and at the Red Bull Ring. Let's see what Roy Schroeter could do. It moves him nowhere. He remains in 5th position, but sets personal bests all the way through. Just clear of Wesley Stefano in 6th position. So Mlinek, Koreala, Gerber, Shepherd, Schroeter and Stefano is your top 6 at the moment. Bruno Souza Ferreira in the Bastwick Grand Prix car is 7th in front of the YTF1 machine of Matthew Marquardt. Philip Koenig and Roy Vazil are rounding out the top 10 at the moment. So that gives us a bit of an idea as to the way things are currently moving. Do, of course, please chat away on the live stream on YouTube. We are chatting away as the racing goes on, and it should hopefully be an incredibly cracking race meeting here at Silverstone. We're looking forward to 2 action-packed sprints, which, of course, will give us some brilliant racing here tonight. And potentially, we could continue our march with some fantastic races. That's while the qualifying session is wrapping itself up to a close, as Tuomas Koreala improves his time to a 1:42.049, but is unable to topple Maciej Mlinek. The story so far, quite simple. Mlinek and Schroeter are 1st and 2nd in the championship. They got the first 2 wins of the season in Australia. Then we went over to Sochi for Russia. Mike Quint picking up the first win there from Maciej Mlinek in the second. He continued his winning streak into China in the first race, with Liam Duval making his season debut in that third weekend of the year, getting his win in the second race. Mlinek again victorious at Barcelona in the first race before Matthew Marquardt got the job done in the second. Roy Schroeter then picked up his second win of the season in race 1 at the Red Bull Ring, with Erhan Jajovski, the new boy in at the academy squad, getting his first win on his first appearance in the championship. Jajovski has since picked himself up a place, I believe, in Super Cup, so he is racing there for the remainder of the season, and I'm not really surprised considering how quickly he got himself into the winner's circle in Formula Challenge. He was very quickly talent scouted. Then we had Mike Quint picking up the win at the first race in Monaco, with Chris Shepherd doing likewise in the second. And then Shepherd continued that into Montreal, race 1, before Mlinek got the job done in the second. So some brilliant battles so far in proceedings here as the qualifying session continues on a pace, with Maciej Mlinek, Tuomas Koreala, Patrick Gerber, Chris Shepherd, Roy Vasil and Roy Schroeter in the top 6. Some good battles further back down the field, just outside the top 10. Menno Klont has got himself into 10th position, which has pushed Philip Koenig down. The two downforce drivers, Thomas Andrea Mariosa and Jaden Wright, have got themselves up into 12th and 13th position. That's actually, as a team, their strongest performance this year. Terence Grech in 14th position in front of Johan Lindberg, running very well there in the second of the YTF1 cars, as teammate, of course, to Matthew Marquardt, who still runs in the top 10. David Junt not having the best of weekends so far. The Red Arrow driver down in 16th position. James Early likewise struggling in the TTF racing machine, number 45. He is currently in 17th spot. Then we have Clemens Wilt, Paul Joseph and Matthew Klipp rounding out the top 20, but there's 10 more to get through after that. A great grid here for this one. Mark Breslin, Mike Quint all the way down in 22nd. That is a shock. 2 seconds from the pole position time so far. Alexander van der Verde is there in 23rd position in the Holland Racing Team car. Noah Kutra in the Royal Blue car is in 24th from Rian Koikstra. Lorenzo de Cutelis, Brett Metcalf is there in 27th place. Casper Onwin in 28th. Nicholas Demetrius in 29th. And Argo Tida in the GPVWC Academy car lines up in 30th position. Good to see Argo back behind the wheel of a Formula Challenge car as he prepares for camera work tomorrow, but good to see he's still keeping his foot in on the driving strength. Now, with a minute and a half left to go in the session, I'm not really seeing anybody beating Maciej next time. To say that, he's only got to be beaten by 0.116 of a second by Tuomas Koreala if that's going to happen, but still, that is not a lot of time to get the job done, and I think Koreala knows it. He is currently he's currently in pit lane. I don't think he's going to be able to beat it. You certainly can't now. Maciej Mlinek trying to improve upon his own time as he starts his final flying lap. Let's see if Maciej Mlinek can go even faster. Patrick Gerber is trying his best, having just started his own final flying lap as well. Chris Shepherd has got one more lap in the can as well as he comes through. Roy Schroeter is on a lap time at the moment, although his first sector and his second are not his personal best, so he's got to hope that he can cross the line and get another lap in. Maciej Mlinek is on a flying lap at the moment, but his first sector time is not the best he's done, 28.476, so I would not be surprised if he fails from this one. Patrick Gerber, meanwhile, done a 28.721 and has gone off road. So Gerber has run off the road. Looks like Menno Quint has done this. Mike Quint, has done exactly the same thing as well. So both of those drivers are now not looking likely to get themselves up the order. It looks to me as though Maciej Mlinek is going to be unchallenged to pole position. Chris Shepherd is on a flyer. So too is Roy Schroeter, just trying to keep an eye on their times. Shepherd has done a 28.52. Mlinek has just gone in the second sector and has done a 43.664. So clearly, he feels that maybe he can get an even faster lap time in there just to double check that he will get the pole position. He doesn't need to. I doubt he's going to be beaten by Chris Shepherd on this lap, but he's going to push it to the line anyway just to see if he can maximize any more time from the car. His personal best is a 1:41.935. Let's see if he can do it. Across the line. Wow! 1:41.6 right at the death for Maciej Minek, opens the gap to 0.36 of a second. Really strong time there indeed from Maciej Minek. I am astonished he was able to find that much time right at the bitter end. That was really, really good work at the very last end. So good work indeed. And let's see if any more improvements can be made further down the field. Looks as if Chris Shepherd is the last one. He goes third. He displaces Patrick Gerber. So Chris Shepherd puts himself into third position. No, he bails. He bails on his qualifying lap, as does Stefano. Sousa Ferreira has already finished his lap. Matthew Marquardt looks like the only other driver on a flying lap, and he set personal bests in both the first and second sectors. So we might get Matthew Marquardt moving up from 10th position. Where will he be on the grid? We'll figure out as he comes across the line. Where has he improved? To 8th. So he's beaten Bruno Sousa Ferreira and he's beaten Johan Lindberg. So good work there, and a brilliant run in the final split there for Matthew Marquardt. Really, really good end to the day. So absolutely brilliant performance. And that is a difficulty for everybody else. If Maciej Minek is carrying that much speed going into this one, he has been absolutely amazing. So it's Minek on pole from Coriala. Shepherd is third from Patrick Gerber. Roy Vazil and Roy Schroeten from Stefano, Marquardt, Sousa Ferreira and Lindberg. We'll take you through the grid in more detail a little bit later on. But that's how it stands at the moment. Well, the warm-up session begins here at Silverstone for the first of our 2 races, and it looks as though it could be an absolutely incredible race coming up, with Maciej Minek pulling up an absolute blinder right at the end there and a fantastic lap time. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up in this absolutely incredible race weekend so far. Can he pull off a race victory in race 1 on lap pace alone? you would be forgiven for thinking he's already got the first part of the job done. But this is Silverstone. Lots of room for overtaking, lots of opportunities to do so around the circuit, and lots of places where all sorts of strategies can come into account as Matthew Marquardt takes a trip over the farm section. Obviously, the skies are bright blue over Silverstone here for this one. It is going to be a bone-dry weekend without any shadow of a doubt. And what an absolutely brilliant pair of races it promises to be. We've seen a multitude of different winners for Formula Challenge in the 2017 season. But much to my delight, it's worth pointing out that as yet, not a single driver has taken the win in both races. We have had two different winners in each weekend, which is great to hear from the Formula Challenge. And so far, Maciej Mleczek leads the championship, having had a string of victories, 5 victories over the course of the year in Australia, Russia, China, Spain, and Canada. The only 2 rounds of the championship he's not taken a race victory on is the Red Bull Ring and Monaco, and that's why he leads the championship, 209 points clear, or 209 points in the lead, I should say, 37 clear of Roy Schroeter. Come on, Roy, it's not that unlikely. So he's got an amazing run of positions, but don't forget, of course, in China, he was all the way down in 18th position after a miserable day at the office in the second race. 20th in the second race, of course, at Red Bull Ring, and that's where he's lost a big chunk of points. Other than that, he's just been solid and consistent, bagging podiums where he can. He's only had 2 other podiums other than those wins, and then points in the top 5 on 3 other occasions, a 7th in Canada and a 10th in Russia race 1. So that's how he's been able to get himself right up at the front end in terms of points paying positions. So it looks like it could be a really interesting one. Jack Mayer Racing writes on YouTube, come on MDR, starting P2 and P12. Yes, it's been a really good race for them so far. Tumas Kuriala and I think it is Terence Gresh who has put himself into position. I apologize. I will correct myself there. But it is definitely a very good run indeed for Tumas Kuriala. He's been very, very good indeed there. The second MDR car is Philip Koenig, I should of course point out. So yes, Philip Koenig, I think, is actually going to be positioned in P12 on the grid from what I've been told, although I originally thought it was P11. So we will double check on that front, but we'll talk you through the grid very shortly indeed as the warm-up session comes to a close in about a minute and a half. But the drivers will just be ironing out the last few kinks. If they can try something that will give them a little bit more speed through the course of the sprint races, then they will, of course, do that. No pit stops, of course, in these races, as they are just a pair of 15-lap sprints, and they will push it all the way to the limit. And this is where you've got to be really, really careful in the opening lap of proceedings. But after that point, you can pretty much stretch your legs and give it gusto. And this is one of those circuits, of course, that allows you to be really, really aggressive in terms of setup. You can really find a bit of a hoodwinker in terms of getting the course right. In particular, drivers will be having a little bit of a catch-22 in terms of setup. Do you focus on the corners around here, or do you go for straight line speed? Because, of course, you've got an incredible set of speedy sections around the course, coming out of Woodcote all the way through to Copse Corner, where you can carry the speed. You can't keep it flat to the floor, but you can blip the throttle and get back on it, correct the car's position, keep it flat, and then through Maggots, Beckett's, you drop down through the gears, but you keep the speed relatively in check, and you can keep that speed carried all the way down the Hanger Straight. But then, of course, conversely, you've got some tight and twisty sections of the corners, particularly through Brooklands and Luffield. And then, of course, we look at coming out of Abbey into Farm and Village to lead onto the Wellington Straight. A really difficult choice in terms of setup. Some teams will have got this absolutely bang on, and some will be scratching their heads trying to figure out why they're losing so much ground. But it is interesting to see who is going to be the beneficiaries of it. We're on the closing stages of the warm-up, and it's going to be Maciej Mleczek that leads the field round, and it's going to be really interesting to see if he can get the job done. For the record, fastest in the qualifying fastest in the warm-up session, just for the record, is Philip Koenig, having done a 1:43.069. But as a couple of drivers have already mentioned in the chats in between sessions, Maciej Mleczek's lap time was from somewhere on a different planet. And if you can pull that off in the first couple of laps, none of the drivers in this grid will see which way he went. And there's 29 of them to try and pull a fast one on Maciej Minek. Can it be done? We'll find out shortly.
Attention grid, we're all not
13 laps of the Silverstone circuit are about to get underway here in Formula Challenge at the home of British motor racing, Silverstone in Northamptonshire, and it will be an interesting one. Can Maciej Minek make it 6 wins this season? We will find out. From pole position, he's got an interesting task ahead of him, but there are plenty of stories all the way. Roy Schroeten, 200th race in GPVWC, this one, as far as I'm led to believe. So it will be an interesting one. And it could be quite an interesting day at the office for Matthew Marquardt as well. Matthew Allington tells me on YouTube that he insisted on driving tonight despite feeling under the weather. And if he gets a good result, then all the better. Well, he's got a great qualifying. He saved his very best lap till the last. And he starts from P7 on the starting grid. And our last man in has joined the field. Ryan Nash in the GPVWC Academy car number 101. He is the 31st car in the race, and he will be starting from the pit lane. We wish him all the best as we get our cars around on the rolling lap. So let's talk you through the starting grid one by one. Scuderia Brasilia driver Maciej Minek lines up on pole position. He is the championship leader, and his qualifying lap was truly sensational. But MDR Motorsport driver Tuomas Coriala is hoping to get one over on him, and he'll definitely have a good, strong start behind him. Roy Schroeten, the Thunderdog driver, hoping for another successful day at the office and a chance to increase his stock in this fantastic championship. Chris Shepherd in the Stax Racing number 37, looking very good as well. We move on through the line. Patrick Gerber lines up 5th position in the Bastvik Grand Prix car. In the YTF1 machine, it's Johan Lindberg who lines up as the first of the 2 cars in P6. His teammate, Matthew Marquardt, number 22, starts in 7th position, with Menno Clant rounding out the top 8 in the Stax Racing car. Sharing the 5th row is the MDR Motorsport car of Philip Koenig, and the Downforce Racing driver number 53, Thomas Andrea Mariosa, is in the top 10. TR Bluevos Motorsports driver Terence Grech is there in 11th spot. 12th position belongs to TTF Racing's James Early, and he'll be wanting a much better start than where he currently is. David Yunt likewise, 3rd in the championship. The Red Arrow Racing man is only 13th on the grid, so watch him fight his way through. Clemens Wilt in the number 14 on the grid, Arrows International driver number 72. The mighty 4th leader, Paul Joseph, starts up from P15 from Royal Blue Racing's 2 cars. The first of those, Matthew Klipp, in car number 50 in P16, and Noah Kutra in the number 51 lines up there in P17. Keep an eye on the salt tires. Thunderdog number 2, Rienk Hoekstra in car number 99 lines up from the 9th row of the grid. Brett Metcalf is in 19th in the TTF Racing car, and then in 20th position it is Lorenzo De Kuytis in the Holland Racing team. Did I see somebody go off the circuit up at Beckett's Corner? I think I did, but we'll try our best to skate over that one. In 21st position on the starting grid, it is Alexander van der Voorde in the Holland Racing team number 79. Casper Onwin in the Arrow International Racing car. Number 72 is in 22nd. GPVWC Academy car, Argo Tida, lines up in 23rd on the grid, with Wesley Stefano in the EJ Engineering number 23 in 24th position on the grid. Bruno Sousa Ferreira, thanks to his penalty, will line up 25th alongside his fellow penalised driver. Jaden Wright is the next of the penalised drivers in 26th in the number 31 Downforce Racing car. Mark Breslin, in the second of the Mighty Fourths, is 27th on the starting grid, alongside the other man on the 14th row, Nicholas Dimitris, in the Red Arrow Racing number 65. Roy Vazil from 29th on the grid should be interesting. The TR Bluevos Motorsports driver will not want to finish there. Mike Quint in the Scuderia Basilia 66 is 30th. And as we've already mentioned, Ryan Nash will start from 31st and potentially the pit lane, as far as we can tell. So Mike Quint on the back of the grid will not be wanting to finish there. Several other drivers in position as well. Keep an eye on the likes of Stefano, Sousa Ferreira, Jaden Wright, and Roy Vazil and Mike Quint, all trying to fight their way through from the back of the grid. But the lights are getting ourselves ready to go racing. Is this going to be another day in the sunshine for Matches Minute? Can Tuomas Coriala beat him? Lights out. Away we go. Good start by David Yunt. He is going to try and move his way further forward, but Matches Minute is already going to move himself into the first corner first. Coriala goes with him. Roy Schroeten trying his best to defend as he gets himself on the inside of Coriala, and Schroeten is through. No problems at all. We're looking further back. That's one of the YTF1 cars that's gone. Several cars in trouble. That is Matthew Marquardt, who went off initially. Several cars in the mix in that one. We're going to try and watch that one on replay again, as several drivers have caught themselves out at turn one. And it looked initially as though Patrick Gerber collided with Tommaso Andrea Mariosa in the downforce car, and the two YTF1 cars got caught up together in that opening incident. Several cars going for a spin, including the second of the MDR Motorsport cars, I think, in there. Philip Koenig just managing to dodge things, and the second of the Thunderdog cars involved as well. That is the second Thunderdog car belonging to, I'm trying to remember who is in the second Thunderdog car, but we've lost Johan Lindberg as far as I can tell already. Lindberg is out of the race with a broken suspension. He is there on the far side. Absolute disaster as far as he is concerned. So problems there as we push ourselves into position once again up front. Matches Minek in front of Roy Schroeten, with Shepard in third from Menno Klont, Tuomas Coriala, Terence Gresh, Wilt, Joseph, Vazil, Philip Koenig. Great battle coming down the hanger straight as Philip Koenig battles away with Roy Vazil, and David Yunt is trying to move himself up into the top 10 here on the inside. He thinks better of it because Philip Koenig is trying to come round the outside of Roy Vazil. Absolutely amazing scrap on the first lap, but Roy Schroeten is underneath Matches Minek, trying to make the better of him. So absolute pandemonium in the first couple of corners. Yunt stalled on the grid, which is just been told to us by Carizo166. Thank you for that. Other couple of things that's been noticed. Jack Mayer Racing. How did Koenig survive that? I did say he came very, very close indeed to going off the racetrack there. And Matthew Allington says it looks like the Bastvig lost control and got collected by everyone. Yes, I think that was the case. So we'll just double check and figure out how the order lies after that. Mlinek, Schroeten, Shepard, Menno Klont is not far behind them either in fourth place. Tuomas Coriala having slipped to fifth position. What's going on with Coriala's start? Grech in sixth position from Clemens Wilt, Paul Joseph, Roy Vazil, Koenig, Yunt, De Kuytis. Stefano is up to 13th, by the way. Who else has moved forward? Mike Quint is now in 16th position from Sousa Ferreira in 17th. Jaden Wright has come up to 18th position. Casper Onwin's made a bit of a march. He's up to 20th position. Marquardt has recovered and is now in 21st, just in front of Thomas Andrea Mariosa, who's got a good run and in through Woodcote. So Andrea Mariosa trying to move up into 21st position, and it looks to me as though he's got the job done on the inside line. Marquardt trying to hold it round the outside. There's not a lot of room to manoeuvre, and Gerber's going to try and start up the inside of both of them as they run three wide. Gerber gets the place, so Patrick Gerber moves up into 21st place. Great move from Patrick Gerber. So great racing all around the circuit. It's going to be difficult to pick the best battles here, but it is Mlinek who leads from Roy Schroeten, Chris Shepard, Menno Klont, Coriala, Grech, Wilt, Joseph, Verzil and Koenig. So the top three are already breaking clear. Mlinek, Schroeten and Shepard. Shepard is trying to stay as close to the front two as he can, but already the break is starting to arrive. But Roy Schroeten is getting close to Matches Mlinek, the two battlers in the championship. Absolutely amazing work so far. Jeff Fournier points out Tita from P23 on the grid to P14. Well, he's down to 16th position now in the midst of a battle with Breslin and Quint. But keep plugging away, Argo. The GPVWC Academy car running well at the moment. And the sister car, where is Ryan Nash? He is there in 13th position, 30th position, I should say. Now, who has really caught the rough end of the deal as a result of that pileup? Well, Brett Metcalf has fallen off the back of the grid. Oh, Thomas Andrea Mariosa has lost it going out of farm. And Rian Hoekstra is going to go round the outside to take the place off him. Alexander van der Verde is one of the drivers involved in that incident on the first lap. So too Matthew Klipp. Nicholas Demetrius has damage. He's in pit lane. James Early as well. So an absolute disaster then for both of those drivers. Ryan Nash, having started from the pit lane, has stayed relatively out of trouble for the moment. But it's Mlinek from Schroeton as they try to get away. Now Mlinek is trying to break the toe of Roy Schroeton because Schroeton is looking particularly strong at this part of the course. He's going to try and put Matches Mlinek at bay. He looks for the inside line at Stowe Corner. Can't get through. Drops down the Vale. And Mlinek is holding on to things at the moment. So Roy Schroeton swarming about at the bottom of the hangar straight, trying to second-guess Mlinek. They come out of Club Corner onto the main straight. And again, Mlinek comes off the racing line, trying to second-guess Roy Schroeton, trying to shake him off. Johan Lindberg writes on YouTube, that was fun. Unfortunately, his race did not last very long at all of about 3 corners. Not even that, unfortunately. Now, Rian Hoekstra is having a bit of a battle further back with Matthew Marquard. Hoekstra goes deep. Marquard gets the place. Great battles all the way through the field. Just trying to keep an eye on some of the closest tussles on the racetrack. Philip Koenig is having a little bit of a scrap at the moment with David Junt. And Junt, of course, is trying to break himself back into the top 10. If he can get there, then that's going to be very crucial points to move his way forward. Chris Shepherd is not shaking up Beneclon as Nash gets out of the way. I thought for a minute one of the leaders was dropping back. Meanwhile, Jaden Wright is having a bit of a scrap out there with Bruno Souza Ferreira. Good little battle between these two, and it looks to me as though Souza Ferreira is going to hold on to the position, although Wright is going to try and take it right round the outside, the Australian. That was brave. He didn't catch it and almost lost the car on the exit of Brooklands, but that was bravery from Jaden Wright. He almost manages to get the job done. But that's the kind of overtaking manoeuvres that are going to be attempted in this one. Maciej Mlinek in front of Roy Schroeton, then Shepherd, Klont, Coriala, Grech, Wilt, Joseph Vazil and Koenig. Now, Clemens Wilt comes over the line. He's about a second behind Terence Grech now, so he's starting to fall away from the back of him. Meanwhile, Menno Klont has got a resurgent Tuomas Coriala on his tail. So Coriala's trying to come through and gain some time. They come out of the Vale chicane and down towards Club. Through the right-hander, back onto the main straight. Mlinek still only 0.4 of a second ahead of Roy Schroeton. Chris Shepherd is remaining a second or so in the zone. So it is getting very close indeed. Another good battle further back as Mark Breslin in 14th position is trying to get away from Lorenzo de Cuitis and has managed to do so in the last couple of sectors. Let's see what other battles we've got further down the field. It all finally starts to be settling itself out as Argo Tida has gone off the road. Argo Tida has gone off somewhere. That's on the way into Beckett's. He's exited Maggots. The car has spun and he's just caught the back end, hitting the wall there. The wheel, the right broken wheel on the suspension will have damaged the car. So Argo Tida's race has sadly ended, but that is a real shame. He was looking good up to that point, making great recoveries, but unfortunately, it's all over for Argo Tida. So let's see the battle up front once again. Maciej Mlinek, Roy Schroeton, Chris Shepherd, and Menno Klont in the top 4, with Tuomas Coriala starting to really give a hassle to Menno Klont. Let's watch him as they go through Maggots, through Beckett's. Good run from Coriala to try and get back up to his front row starting position. For a while, it looked as though he was going to be the man in pole position. Did not get the best of starts, I'm afraid to say. We've had an off in Sector 1. I'm not sure who was dropping down the order there. Didn't see it, unfortunately, so we'll focus again on this 5th position battle. Probably one of the toughest battles out there at the moment. Tuomas Coriala trying to get back past Menno Klont. Meanwhile, further back, Mark Breslin Still trying to get away from Lorenzo De Coitis, and is actually doing so now. De Coitis is falling into the clutches of Bruno Sousa Ferreira and Jaden Wright. Good battle for 15th position as they come through Stowe Corner once again. Jaden Wright sliding a little bit behind them. Up to the inside line as De Coitis has to hold his position. Sousa Ferreira trying to come through. Don't forget, Sousa Ferreira qualified in the top 10, but had a starting grid penalty to deal with. Jaden Wright swarming around all over the back of him. He had a qualifying grid penalty too. So these two getting very feisty behind Lorenzo. So Lorenzo De Coitis is trying to make his way through past the position. Here comes Bruno Sousa Ferreira. Jaden Wright up the inside in the downforce car. Bruno Sousa Ferreira. Oh, contact with Lorenzo De Coitis. De Coitis spins it. Now it's a big moment. Can De Coitis get it going? I want to see exactly what happened there again, because I wasn't sure if that was a result of De Coitis making a mistake, or was that Jaden Wright getting too tripping happy. Now that was, no, De Coitis just lost the car on the way out of farm. Now it's a big moment there for De Coitis. The back end snaps. He's quick to react to it, but as a result of trying to get the car moving again, he loses the car, and Jaden Wright, trying to avoid him, has nowhere to go and ends up clipping De Coitis' car. So that's as a result of De Coitis losing control of his car, and that drops him down into 19th position. Now, Matches Minek has started to drop Roy Schroeton out in front. So Schroeton in second now from Shepherd. Menno Clont is starting to pull away a little bit from Toemas Coriala as well. Grech is 6th from Wild. Joseph Vazil. Philip Koenig in 10th position. Not a bad run there. Matthew Allington has wrote, some people need a crash course in slowing down for incidents. That's an interesting point. I don't know if that's in reference to the Jaden Wright incident, who loses it into Stowe Corner. Jaden Wright, a big spin into Stowe, drops 2 places behind Noah Kutra and Patrick Gerber, who is on a steady fight back, actually, Patrick Gerber. So Gerber into 17th position. Just want to watch the Jaden Wright spin again into Stowe Corner. Just too much curb. The speed is too high. And trying to keep close to Bruno Sousa Ferreira. I was watching it myself again on replay. And the back end is already starting to come out. He just puts a wheel on the curb. The car is unsettled. And that's all it takes. Big moment there, I'm afraid, for Jaden Wright. And that drops him down to 18th. Matthew Marquardt is out of the race. Matthew Marquardt. Now, what happened to him? I'm just watching a replay of Matthew Marquardt out of Vale Chicane as he lost it in the final corner at Club. Well, he's looked okay for the moment as he comes down the main straight. I wonder if it's an off in Abbey Corner. Oh, he's just given up by the look of it. Looks like Matthew Marquardt, sitting in 20th place, just decided he'd had enough. No major incident for Marquardt, but he just said, you know what? I'm fed up of it. I don't want to do it anymore. Either that or it's a disconnection. But problems for Matthew Marquardt. And his race is over. So, Linek leading. Schroeton second. Shepherd is third. 4th position for Menno Clont. Toemas Coriala has got back underneath him once more. So, Toemas Coriala getting back into the battle as they go through Club Corner. He's trying to gain the ground he's lost on Menno Clont. Not easy in this section of the lap. Meanwhile, Roy Vazil is actually starting to make inroads now into the mighty 4th driver, Paul Joseph. So Paul Joseph working hard there in 8th position. TR Blue Voss Motorsport racer Roy Vazil getting close to him now as they come out of the kink up into farm. He's got the inside line. He needs to hold it on the exit. Great move from Roy Vazil. That puts him into 8th place. Good work. A really solid overtake there and in very fine form as well. That puts him into the top 8. He'll be really happy about that. So let's see how things continue on. Roy Vazil working hard to close up now on Clemens Wild. He's got less than a second to get there, so he can push it with more speed and make it happen. Menno Clont, meanwhile, has still got Toemas Coriala chasing him down. So Toemas Coriala trying to get one over on Menno Clont as the 2 teammates in this squad run in 3rd and 4th position. The Stax Racing cars of Chris Shepherd and Menno Clont. Great start from Menno Clont to get himself up into the top 5 so quickly. Toemas Coriala working hard to try and catch him. It's not easy at the moment. Oh, Lorenzo De Coitis has got past Noah Kutra because Kutra has gone off. So Kutra spins. That is down at Brooklands. I wonder how he did it. Just watch the replay. Noah Kuchera running in front of Lorenzo De Cutis. Very easy mistake to make that. The car is unsettled as he goes through the mid-corner, tries to gain the time lost. The back end steps onto the curb. He keeps in the throttle, and that's what you can't do. The back of the car starts to unsettle and overtake the front end. You have to come off the throttle in that instance, and that is a very stereotypical mistake, unfortunately, for rookies. And Noah Kuchera will learn from that one, but it's a painful mistake nonetheless. Tuomas Coriala really stepping up the attack to Menno Klont. Klont locks up into Farm as Coriala steps up the intensity now. Into the left-hander out of Village. And onto the Wellington straight they'll come. Through the left kink. Plenty of speed. A little bit too much curve for Coriala. That's unsettled the car. So he will have to get back towards him a little later on in the lap. He's gaining a lot of ground under braking. Coriala diving for the inside line, Gilles Villeneuve style. He just wasn't close enough to get through on the inside of Brooklands. So he now goes round the sweep, the right-hander at Luffield, back onto the throttle. Now that could have unsettled Menno Klont. And if that's the case, then Coriala is going to try and get back on terms with him. Meanwhile, Wesley Stefano and Mike Quint going through the field together are now 12th and 13th position. They are battling away together behind David Yunt. So interesting now as the EJ Engineering car of Wesley Stefano desperately tries to shake off Mike Quint, who started, don't forget, down at the back. Schroeten's off the road. Schroeten's off the road. Oh, and he's come together with Coriala on the way back on. Roy Schroeten has gone off the road and ruined Coriala's race. Now, he is definitely going to get a penalty for that. Let's watch again. Schroeten the car just unsettles and loses balance on the way through. That is a disaster for Roy Schroeten. But when he gets back on the road, he tries and joins the racing line just as Coriala's coming on. That is a disaster. So both Coriala and Schroeten in dire straits. Now, they are lucky in that Coriala was able to get the car moving again without losing position. He rejoins in 5th, but Terence Grech has gone through. So Roy Schroeten recovers in 6th, but there's definitely a case to suggest now that the NDR Motorsport team are going to have a little bit of a word with the officials about Roy Schroeten in the Thunderdog. He went off the road, yes, that was his own mistake, yes, but unfortunately he did impede another driver in the process. Now Mark Preston's off the road in the mighty 4th. He's gone off at the final chicane into Vale, pushes into the left-hand part of the apex, gets on the right side curb. Plenty of curb on the final corner, and the car swaps ends. That's a very easy mistake to make. I've made it many times myself on this circuit, on varying different mods. It's very easy to do, and unfortunately, he makes the mistake. Now, Wesley Stefano and Mike Quint, as a result of that, have moved up to 11th and 12th. Roy Schroeten's had another off, it looks like. I think Roy Schroeten has gone off the road again. I want to see what happened. Oh, he's had a roll by the look of it. I want to double check, but Roy Schroeten has had a major incident. Let's wind it back. He's gone into Village. Just watching it through. The back, yeah, I think maybe he's just had a spin or glitched or something, but Roy Schroeten now finds himself in 13th position. So a big problem there for Roy. I think he's had another off. That's the problem. Spins do breed spins. So that has promoted Stefano and Quint up into 11th and 12th positions. Very interesting. Well, Shane Berg writes, Mathieu will be a very happy boy. Gerdiner writes, as will the Stax team manager. Jeffrey Fournier says, who said that Mathieu has won this? Still a few laps left. I can guarantee you it's very hard to keep tyres here. You're absolutely right. But Jack Mayer Racing writes, can't believe it. Really hope Tuomas hasn't got damage. But Shane Burke also writes, knowing Mathieu, I think he's got it under control. So, 2.8 seconds clear. Well, Shepherd is closing the gap. It was 3 seconds a little while ago, so Shepherd has not given up the ghost yet. Neither has Menno Klont as he laps Nicholas Dimitris. Terence Grech running in 4th position as a result of that incident. Tuomas Coriala is now right underneath him, though. So Coriala doesn't look like he's got damage as he continues to push on to the back of Terence Grech. This is going to be for position if he can get the move done. Closes up on him out of Woodcote. Down the straight. Is he going to pop up on the inside of Copse, or is he going to wait for Maggots and Beckett? He will wait. Coriala goes through Copse corner along with Grech. Now Terence Grech is trying to and hang on to this 4th position through Maggots, the right, left of Beckett. And into the right-hander, sweeping through. Back onto the hanger straight. Coriala was not able to run in the dirty air of Grech as closely as he would like. So he's had to come back a little bit later on in the lap. Now, Casper on win. Thomas Andrea Mariosa, Matthew Klipp is an interesting battle further back. Noah Kuchar in front of them trying to recover. What other battles have we got out there on the circuit? Nothing particularly tight at the moment other than James Early trying to shake off Alexander van der Voorde at the moment. Roy Verzil has got Clemens Wilt closing in, I suppose. And Paul Joseph has Philip Koenig only 0.8 of a second behind him at the last split. So there are still a couple of juicy battles going on, but nothing quite as close as Grech and Coriala. Meanwhile, Chris Shepherd is closing in on Maciej Minek. The gap is down to 2.6 in the final couple of laps, but that does look to me as though Linek is literally just measuring his tyres. He is not pushing them too hard. The gap is down to 2.4. Linek just trying to measure the pace with 2 laps to go. So on lap 12, Maciej Linek controlling the pace. Shepherd is only 2.4 back now with Menno Klont in third. Grech and Coriala fighting away for 4th position. It's not done yet by any means with these guys. Still battling away big style. Jack Mayer Racing said Coriala looking less stable with the rear now. Looks like he's got suspension damage. Yeah, he does look a little bit slidey with the car. It is starting to crab a little bit. But fair play to Thomas Coriala for handling the car the way he has. He's doing an absolutely cracking job of hanging on. Through Maggots and Beckett. Can Coriala gain ground? The advantage he has is that they're about to come up to lap Nicholas Dimitris. So this is an opportunity potentially to get one over on them. Now, is this going to be an opportunity for Nicholas Dimitris? Now, he moves aside. Now, in the slipstream, Coriala gets close, but through the corners, that's where the car is really unsettled. As into the last lap goes Maciej Minek. He looks very good now. The gap is 2.2. But that is nothing to be nervous about if you're Maciej Minek. You're just controlling the tyres. You're just making sure that the car can make it around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit one more time. Really good work this from Linek. He has controlled the pace despite all of the pressure from Roy Schroeten in the early stages. Schroeten, by the way, is recovering. He is in 13th position, but he's got to hope for the lucky number 13 to be drawn on the reverse grid pole if he's going to gain some more points on his championship rival. Linek goes into Brooklands for the last time as he continues to measure his pace beautifully. Meanwhile, Grech and Coriala still battling for position. Coriala trying to get one over on Grech as they come into Brooklands. He's not close enough, and that's because of the way the car unsettles itself out of the kink towards Wellington, through Brooklands and through to Luffield. He's got to hope now that there's a chance to come through, but he's starting to run out of time to make it happen. It looks like it's going to be Grech from Coriala in that battle, but Minek is making his way through Maggots and Beckett for the last time. Shepherd is only 2 seconds down the road. He doesn't need to panic. He doesn't need to worry at this point. He is looking absolutely large and in charge here at Silverstone and on course for his 6th win of the season to extend his advantage in the championship fight. He has been absolutely supreme when he's needed to be this year. He was the super sub, of course, in the early stage of the season, but his focus is the Formula Challenge Championship now. And Maciej Minek is going to come through the chicane at Vale for the last time. It's been a masterclass race performance from Maciej Minek. Out of Stowe corner, out of club. He takes the checkered flag and he wins at Silverstone. Maciej Minek has done it again. Chris Shepherd in 2nd place. Menno Klont is going to make it 2 Stax Racing cars on the podium in 2nd and 3rd position. Great work from Shepherd and Klont. Grech comes through in 4th in front of Thomas Coriala. Roy Verzil, great fighting drive to get him into 6th position. He should be satisfied with the points from that. Clemens Wilt in 7th place. Paul Joseph is just going to beat Philip Koenig over the line, but only by only by 600ths of a second does he get there. David Junt is 10th. 11th is Mike Quint in front of Wesley Stefano. Roy Schroeten will be miserable with 13th place. Bruno Sousa Ferreira in 14th from Patrick Gerber. Jaden Wright will bring the downforce car home in 16th in front of Mark Breslin and Brett Metcalf. Noah Kuchar comes home in the 51. 20th position for Matthew Klipp. Oh, it looks as if Thomas Andrea Mariosa has lost a position or two on the final lap. No, he's gained a position, sorry, on Casper Onwin. There's a great little battle right at the end as James Early and Alexander van der Voort are trying to scrap away as many points positions as they can. Up on the inside, they may as well go for it as van der Voort tangles with Onwin. James Early mugs them both, and that looks like a spin for Alexander van der Voort. So Andrea Mariosa comes home 22nd from James Early and Casper Onwin. Van der Voort recovers to 25th, but that is just a really nasty end to his race. Rian Hoekstra comes home in 26th from Demetrius and Nash, who have already been lapped on their way to the flag, with Matthew Marquardt, Argo Tida, and Johan Lindberg out of the race. Well, what an amazing race that ended up being at the very end there, but Maciej Minek gets the job done, and a fantastic victory, an amazing end to the race. A great battle all the way to the death. I'm just watching back the replay of that little squabble with Alexander van der Voort, James Early, Casper Onwin. Nice little run to the flag there, but Alexander van der Voort, unfortunately, just losing the back end on the way through the left part of the Vale. But Maciej Minek gets the victory, and it's an important one. It extends his victory in the championship fight, with Chris Shepherd and Menno Klont getting 2 Stacks Racing cars on the podium. Roy Schroten will be hoping that the reverse grid draw is 13th, 14th or 15th. But it's going to be a really interesting second race. Well, we're getting ourselves ready for the second race here in the GPVWC Formula Challenge. What is most interesting about this race is a particularly exciting second race in prospect, particularly when you think about the fact that there is a little bit of a discussion going on in the pits at the moment between Tuomas Koreala and Roy Schroten. Now, of course, their incident in that first race was very entertaining, very interesting indeed. Now, obviously, there is an argument to suggest that Roy Schroten rejoined the circuit in a dangerous position, and that is what Tuomas Koreala is complaining. He was really frustrated with Roy and said, look, you've joined the circuit a little bit too late there. But Roy Schroten has counter-argued that actually he's just seen the replay and I rejoined on the left side of the circuit, but you did run wide in the left circuit on full throttle in a yellow flag zone, and that's why you collected me. So it's an interesting argument there. I'm not entirely sure what the officials are going to say about that one, but obviously both drivers with an argument to suggest one or the other is at fault. But the big question is, which is it going to be? And which would you suggest is the guilty party there? Because Roy Schroeton is basically saying that, well, yes, I did go off the road, but I rejoined the circuit on the left side. And Tuomas Koreala was apparently drifting wide to the left of the circuit on full throttle through the yellow and should have been more cautious. Meanwhile, Tuomas Koreala is saying, you know, you really shouldn't have rejoined the circuit in a dangerous fashion, my friend. You were being a little bit too reckless. So it's interesting. I'm not entirely sure which way the blame should be apportioned on that one. It's a difficult one to call. I don't know what you guys think about that one, but it is an interesting discussion. Chris Shepard talking about, I couldn't keep up for some reason with, he couldn't keep up for some reason. He had what he believes is too much downforce. His tyres went off at the end, and it wasn't a bad result as far as he was concerned. So it's good to hear from him. But it is an interesting position. The drivers are still discussing this, by the way, Koreala and Roy Schroeton. They are still debating. They're still chatting away about what happens there, about what actually happened. I'm trying to gather what it was. He says, Tuomas Koreala has come back and said it was a tight situation. It's really difficult to keep up, unfortunately. I'm trying to see what these guys have actually said about it. Some drivers making a point. The first lap stupidity is insane. Can't remember how many times I've been spun around by some maniac this year. So, yeah. Well, Tuomas Koreala says, I was racing Menno and I went wide in his dirty air. So he is actually letting him know. Maciej Mlinek has also written actually saying, sorry, Roy, for the contact at the beginning of Sector 2. I went too wide. Now, Roy Schroeton has counteracted and said, I had a lag spike, and that's why I sat on the middle of the circuit. Now, that's an interesting one. So I hope that kind of clears things up a little bit for a few people who are asking questions. Interestingly, Mike Quint is going to be on pole position for this race. So it's reverse grid 11. What a disaster that is for Roy Schroeton. He will be really disappointed with that because that's 11th position reverse grid. And it could easily have been 13. So he will be very disappointed with that. The warm-up session is only 3.5 minutes done. A couple of drivers are out there on the circuit at the moment just trying to get a better understanding of their cars. Some are choosing not to. Tuomas Koreala, Patrick Gerber, Wesley Stefano, Paul Joseph. The only ones out on circuit at the moment actually are Bruno Sousa Ferreira, Clemens Wilt, Philip Koenig, Nicholas Dimitris. Brett Metcalf is out there. So too is David Junt. Menno Klont, interestingly, is trying to get a little bit more out of the car. So too is Roy Schroeton. Johan Lindberg as well. Matthew Klipp is out there. Lawrence de Cutilis, David Junt is there. So, yeah, there's quite a few drivers who are opting to use this particular one. Tuomas Koreala says, I'm interested to see what happens in the next race with this shuffled grid. I'm hoping no one pulls a Sainz. He only did it on Sunday, guys. That's a little bit harsh, potentially. But, yes, of course, he's referring to the Carlos Sainz incident at the Canadian Grand Prix 2 days ago. And Mike Quint counteracts Aura Grosjean. Oh, dear. The banter in GPVWC. We love it almost as much as we love the racing. Goodness me. Right. Jack Mayer Racing says, from the broadcast, it looked like Roy came onto the track where Tuomas was also destined to be. He probably should have been more smooth when rejoining, especially at such a low speed. But maybe my opinion is biased. Well, thank you for that, Jack. That is really important that we get anybody's opinion on that one. It is difficult because I do see Roy's argument, but I also see the argument from Tuomas. So it is difficult to know who is in the right and who is in the wrong there. I would not want to be race control at this point because, yes, as Tuomas has admitted, he was battling with Menno Klont and he caught the dirty air and the car drifted left, and that is where he was going to be. So it's a difficult one. Jeffrey Fournier just says very simply, well, let's see after the race. Yes, it is going to be investigated, of course, post-race. So we won't dwell too much upon it now. There is another race to get going, and Mike Quint takes up residence on pole position. Now, that is an interesting position for him to be in because, of course, that now sets him up for what could potentially be his third win of the season. Having won race 1 at both Sochi and Monaco, he will now want to get the job done this time by. It could be really, really interesting as the drivers are now getting themselves ready for action. Johan Lindberg sends a very special message. Thanks, guys, for all the fun races in the past. This will be my last, at least for now. So Johan Lindberg will be hanging up his helmet at the end of this race. And it's an amazing career for Johan Lindberg as well. He has had a brilliant run of late, but it's all been particularly frustrating, as he will be the first to admit. But Johan Lindberg, second position, don't forget, in Russia in the first race, and third at the Red Bull Ring. He has elected this weekend that Silverstone will be his last race in the GPVWC for a while, which is a real shame. He is one of the great talents of this championship, but he says, it's amazing, all of the drivers basically saying, maybe we can reconsider, mate. It would be really good if you could change your mind. But of course, he's had 4 races in the Super Cup, in the Premier level, in the second tier level, I should say. 71 races in Formula Challenge over the last 3 seasons, including a win last year in race 1 at Germany. But now it is coming to an end, at least for the moment, says Johan Lindberg, and we do hope that the Swede will reconsider in the future. It will be a real shame to see him disappear. But for the moment, this is Johan Lindberg's final hour. So the warm-up has come to a conclusion, so now it is time to move on, and hopefully we are going to get a really exciting race. So Johan Lindberg will start his final race in the GPVWC Super Cup for the moment from the back of the grid, 30th position, and we'll just see how he goes. Good luck, everybody, and let's have a really strong second race here at Silverstone.
Attention, grid, we're all not.
So here we go again. It's time for race 2, and it should be a cracker, an absolutely brilliant second race. Let's talk you through the grid as the drivers are now ready to rock and roll. It is Mike Quint who will start from pole position on this reverse grid in the Scuderia Basilia car. So it's been 2 pole positions for Scuderia Basilia cars, 1 from qualifying and 1 from a reverse grid. But can he take this into the race itself? It should be a really interesting one. Ultimately, lining up alongside him, though, is going to be the main beneficiary from this reverse grid, and that is David Junt. So he will line up in a solid position on the starting grid as a result of where he is. So as Mike Quint puts himself on pole position, this is set to be one heck of a second encounter as we go on the rolling lap here for the second race. Mike Quint starts on pole position in the Scuderia Basilia car. David Junt in the Red Arrow Racing car will line up in second position. Philip Koenig in the MDR Motorsport car takes residence in P3 from Paul Joseph in the first of the mighty fourth cars, number 25. The Arrow International Racing car in fifth position is Clemens Wilt in the number 72, with Roy Vazil lining up in P6 in the TR Blue Voss Motorsports car. Tuomas Coriala, hoping for a better race this time, lines up in P7 for the MDR Motorsport team, with Terence Grech in 8th position in the TR Blue Voss Motorsports machine. Menno Klont in the Stax Racing car lines up from P9 alongside his teammate Chris Shepherd, runner-up in race 1, and the winner from race 1 is starting 11th on the grid, Maciej Mlinek. Wesley Stefano lines up alongside him in the EJ Engineering car, but keep an eye on the man in 13th place, the Thunderdog of Roy Schroeten, 1 place behind Maciej Mlinek on the row. He should be really exciting from there to battle with his rival in the championship. Bruno Souza Ferreira lines up 14th in the Basfleet Grand Prix car. Patrick Gerber, his teammate, will line up in P15 on the grid. From the Downforce Racing driver number 31, Jaden Wright of Australia. Mark Breslin is the second of the mighty fourth drivers in 17th place. The TTF Racing car of Brett Metcalf, number 41, joins him on the 9th row of the grid, with Noah Kutra in the Royal Blue racing car in 19th on the starting grid, alongside his teammate Matthew Klipp. 50 and 51, those two cars, with the 51 ahead of the 50. Lorenzo De Cutis lines up 21st in the first of the Holland Racing Team cars, alongside Downforce Racing's new boy Thomas Andrea Mariosa. Then it is James Early in the TTF Racing car, 23rd on the starting grid. Alongside him on the 12th row is Casper Onwin in the Arrow International Racing car. Alexander van der Velde is there in the Holland Racing Team in 25th position. Rienk Hoekstra in the second of the Thunderdogs lines up in P26. Nicholas Demetris starts 27th in the Red Arrow Racing car, with Ryan Nash in 28th position there in the GPVWC Academy car. Matthew Marquardt will line up in the YTF1 car in 29th place, and Johan Lindberg starts 30th for what will be his last GPVWC race, at least for now. So the cars bring themselves onto the starting grid. Mike Quint hoping for a cracking start. He's going to be very, very exciting to watch in this one. He will push very hard, but who is going to get the job done? It will be interesting to see who makes up the most time from the starting line. Mike Quint will want to get a good getaway with David Junt and Philip Koenig in there. Paul Joseph, Clemens Wild, Vasil, Coriala, Grech, Clont, Shepard, Linek, Stefano, Schroeten, Sousa Ferreira, Gerber and Wright in the first 8 rows. The final couple of cars get themselves into position here at Silverstone. We're getting ready to go racing once more. Hang on to your hats, folks. The second race in GPVWC Formula Challenge is right around the corner. Here we go. Now! Couple of spins on the formation lap, we're told, but Mike Quint gets a good start from David Junt. Philip Koenig trying to hold on to third position as they go through the first corner. It all looks neat and tidy as they go through Abbey for the first time, and this time we look okay, but it's going to be down to this crucial right-hander at Farm that everything is going to be told. And there's a spin from Koenig. Koenig spins in front of the field, and somehow, most of the field have got through okay, but Philip Koenig in big trouble. Everybody trying to get themselves through, no problem. But Philip Koenig spins to the back. Wesley Stefano's got caught up in it as well. And several cars have actually made their way through. Johan Lindberg has come up from the back of the grid to P14. What a start from Lindberg as the field continues to shuffle their way around. Oh, there's a spin further back. That is Bruno Sousa Ferreira. And a spin from Lindberg too. Oh, Lindberg spins into the gravel trap. And Luffield, he gets the car going again. Casper Onwin's in there. Koenig's gone into the gravel trap as well. Wesley Stefano's got a... This is madness. Noah Kutra out of the race, I'm guessing as a result of that incident at the start. And Matthew Klipp is in there as well. He got caught out with Bruno Sousa Ferreira, and one of the Holland Racing Team's got... Oh, he's rejoined the circuit far too hastily. Rienk Hoekstra gets caught out. Matthew Klipp, very irresponsible for my money. I'm sorry to say it, but Matthew Klipp really rejoined the circuit far too soon, and that has caused no end of damage for other drivers. Meanwhile, Mike Quint has got himself very nicely done there indeed. So Mike Quint running well. Second position, David Junt. Third is Roy Vasil. Chris Shepard is already up into P4. Great start as far as he's concerned. Just watching back the replays, Lindberg having gone off the circuit, several cars hitting each other with big damage. Most of that, unfortunately, caused by Matthew Klipp, as Thomas Andrea Mariosa is falling down the order. He has spun as well. Several cars coming into the pits. Nash is in, De Cutis is in, Clont is in, Koenig is in. So many cars into the pits with damage on this lap. Bruno Sousa Ferreira doing the same. Rienk Hoekstra coming into the pits as well. So yes, we've got De Cutis, Clont, Koenig, Nash, Sousa Ferreira, Hoekstra. So many cars in the pits with damage. There's only 22 on the circuit who are still motoring round. Now, Mike Quint leads the race. David Junt in a brilliant second position. That's where he needs to be for championship points. Vasil is fending off Chris Shepard in fourth. Then it's Clemens Wild in fifth position, just in front of Thomas Coriala and Roy Schroeten. These two battling again. Matches Linek is behind them, interestingly. So Schroeten got a flyer of a getaway, and he's actually now in front of Matches Linek. That is interesting. Terence Grech is ninth, from Joseph in 10th, from Gerber, Jaden Wright, Mark Breslin. Then it's Demetris van der Velde. Johan Lindberg has recovered in 16th. Early is 17th from Andrea Mariosa, Matthew Marquardt, Stefano, Metcalf and Onwin. The rest of the field have all made pit stops. Lorenzo De Cutis and Ryan Nash having a good battle on the way down to Brooklands as they battle for the best of the rest. Ryan Nash now trying to fend off Philip Koenig, who had 2 offs on that first lap. Menno Clont is in that lot, would you believe? So Menno Klont having difficulties on that first lap, perhaps getting caught up in the spin with Philip Koenig, and that's where he received his damage. What a disastrous start, though. So Mike Quint leads at the end of the second lap of 13 here. Really exciting race this is set to be for Quint as he continues to run on, looking for his third win of the season. Junt in second, Vasil third, from Shepard, Wild, Schroeter, Mlinek and Coriala. So Coriala has actually dropped back into 8th position. Both Schroeter and Mlinek have got him on this last lap. Here comes Coriala, back for more on the inside of Mlinek, trying to get there. They bang wheels as they go through. Mlinek tries to hold him on the inside line. Coriala's trying to come right around the outside, but Mlinek determined, you are not getting by me, mate. Absolutely brilliant work from Maciej Mlinek as he continues to run in 7th place. So we have a retirement, and it's Matthew Marquardt again. He's lost the car coming out of the final chicane. Oh, Matthew rejoining the circuit just as Brett Metcalf was coming through. Now that is disappointing. Oh, and Johan Lindberg has given up as well. Oh, now that is an overlag for Alex van der Velde, I think. So van der Velde's car in the wrong place at the wrong time, and Lindberg has decided, do you know what, forget it. That is a real disaster. Now Alexander van der Velde has rejoined the circuit, but a lag problem for Lindberg. His race is over. So too are Matthew Marquardt and Brett Metcalf's. So 2 drivers in trouble. What a shame for Johan Lindberg. His career ends ignominiously. So Mike Quint leads, David Junt second from Vasil, Clemens Wild, Roy Schroeter, Maciej Mlinek, Thomas Coriala, Terence Grech, Patrick Gerber and Chris Shepard. Some good battles going on, but Alexander van der Velde is out of the race. Damage as a result of that moment. So van der Velde's race ends, and I'm not really surprised, to be honest. Mike Quint leading though, Junt in second, Vasil third. Now that's the battle we need to watch actually, because that's tightening up. Third position, Clemens Wild has got Roy Schroeter breathing down his neck at the moment as Roy Schroeter really stepping up the attack as they go through to farm. Up the inside, this is a good move from Schroeter. Is he going to get there? Wild is not going to give him the satisfaction, holds it to the inside line. Schroeter then cuts back. Wild is defending the inside line. That's going to leave him vulnerable for the left kink. Schroeter's going to get a better run. So Schroeter is working well. Now what happened to Chris Shepard? Chris Shepard is now down to P10. I didn't actually see what happened to him. I do apologise, but he was in the top 4. So somebody is going to have to clarify on that one. I'm afraid I didn't see what happened to Shepard. I do apologise. But now Roy Schroeter has dealt with Clemens Wild and is through. Now that gives him a clear path to go after Roy Vasil. So Vasil now might be vulnerable to Roy Schroeter, who continues to push on. But there's a great battle stepping up. So Schroeter in 4th. Wild is now left to deal with Maciej Mlinek. Johan Lindberg's writes, well, that was a different way to end my FC career. We are so sorry to see you go, Johan. Hopefully you will get sick of not driving and you'll come back sooner rather than later. But we totally understand the frustration. Maciej Mlinek in 6th. Thomas Coriala in 7th. He's getting some pressure now from Terence Grech. Grech is trying to come back to the man he beat in the previous race, don't forget. And it looks like Wesley Stefano's had an engine failure as well, actually. So Wesley Stefano out of the race. So there's only 23 cars left, would you believe, of the 30 that started. We've lost van der Velde, we've lost Stefano, Lindberg, Metcalf, Marquardt, Clip and Kutra. So there's only 23 cars still running this race. Clemens Wild desperately hanging on. Maciej Mlinek is closing him in, trying to get the move. Let's see. Making his move, hasn't got there yet. Clemens Wild still pushing on. Maciej Mlinek trying, but he's got Thomas Coriala behind him trying to come through as well. Thomas Coriala trying to get some good steps back. Now Kurizu166 tells us on YouTube, Shepard made a move on Vasil, but they tangled and he spanned. So that's why Shepard drops back into 10th position. Roy Schroeter now locking up in his bid to close up on Vasil. Wild, Mlinek, Coriala, Grech and Gerber. Very tightly close together. Chris Shepard still there in 10th position. Jaden Wright in the downforce car now in 11th place. Paul Joseph in the mighty 4th. Leads his teammate Mark Breslin. Demetrius is 14th in front of his teammate James Early. So the 2 Red Arrow cars go together. Sorry, the 2 that's the Red Arrow racing car and James Early, the TTF car. I'm sorry, they look so much alike. from a distance anyway. There's Thomas Andrea Mariosa in 16th, Casper Onwin, De Coitis, Mano Clont, Sousa Ferreira, Philip Koenig in 21st from Nash and Hoekstra. So an interesting race for some, a rather short-lived one for others. Roy Schroeter, though, getting onto the back of Roy Vazil. And that is a problem for Nicholas Demetrius. He has run wide, and that has allowed James Early to go through. The two mighty fourth cars are battling away for position. Preston in front of Paul Joseph. Thomas Andrea Mariosa is lining up a move on Nicholas Demetrius. We'll try and stay with as many battles as we can. But Roy Schroeter leads the battle for the podium as he tries to go for Roy Vazil. Fourth place, Roy Schroeter, right underneath Vazil. He's got a good run through the first two corners. Now he's going to go hang out wide, try to make the undercut. Vazil holds the inside line. Schroeter gets alongside him. Similarly, Grech has now got through. What's happened to Mlinek? What's happened to Mlinek? Mlinek has had a problem somewhere. Now, I think he's come together with Curiala and Gerber. I'm going to watch this back. Mlinek makes a move around the outside of Wilt. Tries to go for the move. Wilt shuts the door. Contact. Mlinek spins around. Curiala's got nowhere to go but into him. Absolute disaster. And they both drift across and collect Patrick Gerber. Absolute nightmare for all three of them. But what a disaster. And Gerber is now out of the race with damage. So Gerber has got far too much damage. He tried to keep it going all the way around the lap to bring it back to the pits. But not only had he lost too much time, but I think he had an up. Yes, he parked it. He parked it on the way onto the Wellington Straight. So big disaster for Patrick Gerber. So Quint is now your leader from Junt, Vazil and Schroeter. And Schroeter is still right there with him. Wilt is now fifth, and he's got problems of his own. He spins out of Beckett. Clemens Wilt spins out of Beckett, drops down out of the top 10. Surely, yes, Breslin's got through. So now it's Grech in fifth position, battling with Chris Shepherd. Shepherd moves to the inside of Stowe, can't get through. Now, Tumas Coriala is still running, but his car looks all over the place. I would not be surprised if he comes into the pits to repair damage. He doesn't. He keeps going. So too matches Minek. Jaden Wright in the downforce car underneath him. The two mighty fourths are next, Preston and Joseph. Clemens Wilt, 12th position at the moment in the Arrow International. In front of the TTF of James Early. And Early's going to get on the inside of Wilt. Wilt runs wide. Oh, Wilt shuts the door and Early goes up and over the curbs. James Early is not going to be happy about that one. Early recovers in front of Nicholas Demetrius. He's now got Thomas Andrea Mariosa battling away. Things are getting a little bit touring car-ish in this race. Oh, that's Paul Joseph battling away with Grech. Grech has spun it. Terence Grech has spun it. Now Grech in trouble. What happened there? He was battling away with Chris Shepherd. Shepherd nudged him. Shepherd nudged him in the back end of the car. Grech got the car going again. Rejoined right in front of Joseph, and Joseph shut the door. Oh, now it's raining. It's raining. Now that's why the cars are starting to go all over the place. So the rain has come out here at Silverstone. Quint, Junt, Vazil, Schroeter, Shepherd, Coriala. It's raining now, and the cars are all on dry tyres. So all sorts of problems for the drivers out there. Now, is anybody going to take the gamble? Because it's raining very heavily. If anybody takes the gamble to go onto wet tyres, then they could be the ones to go for the victory. But the rain is coming down, and it's coming down rapidly. Now, Mike Quint continues on. He will not change to wet tyres. Trouble is, it takes so long to change to wet tyres. You may as well just try and stay out there and hope you've got enough grip. But the cars are going to start flying around all over the place as the cars start to lose grip. At the moment, it looks more like psychological rain than heavy, but they're starting to get there. Menno Clont has caught up to the back of Lorenzo De Cutis, and he's trying to make a move. There's only 22 cars left in the race, but the rain coming out will definitely change the course of this race, especially with all the cars out there on slick tyres. Now, this is definitely going to spice things up. Now, the Stax engineers are both saying, pit this lap, pit this lap. So the rain coming down. We're just trying to see if everybody's going to cope with it down to Brooklands. Mike Quint is the first one to get there, of course. So he is the first one that will have to cope with the pressure. Roy Schroeter has fallen off the back of Roy Vazil. And you know what? That might not be a bad idea considering the wet. Menno Clont is pitting. Now, here we go. Just as it was predicted by Jeff Fournier. Pit this lap, pit this lap. Menno Clont is going to go onto wet tyres. Why not? He's in 16th position. He can take a gamble. If it continues to get wetter, he could be the fastest man on the racetrack. And that means, of course, that he will just blitz the field while everybody else is tiptoeing. So the strategists decide to bring in Menno Klon. Now, he is the first one to take the gamble. And he may as well, considering his current position. That's not a bad idea. Menno Klon rejoins in 21st position. We'll need to watch him on his first lap out on the circuit. Is there enough grip in the car at the moment? Because the rain is not torrential yet, but it is coming down, definitely. So they'll need to be careful how they deal with this. Several other cars are there. Menno Klon's obviously having rejoined the circuit. We'll need to watch his lap times as well to see what he's doing. Maciej Mlinek has got Jaden right behind him. I think the rain stopped, you know. It looks to me as though the rain has stopped. Now that is interesting. It was only a drizzle. Oh dear. Stax Racing were not calling the shots right there. So Jeff Fournier writes, tricky choice for Mike Quint. He's leading. Would you pit? Well, if I'm Mike Quint, I'm certainly not now because it has stopped raining. It was a one-lap shower. So Menno Klon is going to have to come into the pits to change tyres again because there's absolutely no way he's got a car that will hold in these conditions. Yeah, the back end is sliding through Maggots and Beckett's. He's chasing down Ryan Nash in the Academy car. Menno Klon goes off the road. The car does not have the grip because the rain has already stopped. So Mike Quint continues to lead, but it was just a brief shower. So Mike Quint leads the way. Yunt in second place. Vazil third. Roy Schroeter is fourth. Fifth position for Chris Shepherd now as a result of all that shuffling. Kuriala is sixth. In front of Mlinek in seventh. Jaden Wright looking good for a top 10 finish in eighth place. Both the Mighty Forts look like the same as well. Preston and Joseph are in there. Terence Grech trying to make up for lost time. From early, Clemens Wilt, Andrea Mariosa, Dimitris, Onwin, Sousa Ferreira, De Kuitis, Koenig, Nash, and Menno Klont in front of Hoekstra. Now, Klont is making an overtaking move on the inside of Ryan Nash, but surely he's got absolutely no grip at all. Yeah, oh, he's been pitched up by Nash. Now, Nash got on the inside of Menno Klon, but Klont surely is not going to be able to have any grip at all with these tyres. So Ryan Nash on slicks and Menno Klont is on, well, Menno Klont is on intermediates, I notice. He's not on the full wet, I don't think. Ryan Nash runs wide, and I think that's because he's been told, you need to give the place back, sunshine, because you shoved him off. So everybody on slick tyres except for Menno Klont, who's on intermediates. He will not last a lap, or he will not last another lap on those tyres for my money. Gerdener says now, Menno likes to go for the fastest lap when he's down the field. At least he has fresh tyres after his next stop. Well, yes, and he's going to need to make another stop. There's no way his tyres will survive on the current state of play that we're on. Roy Schroeter is now third. What's happened to Roy Vazil? What's happened to Vazil? Oh, Schroeter went round the outside and tagged Vazil. Again, Schroeter gets caught up in an incident. Vazil recovers, but he's now down in 8th position. This is a disaster for Roy Vazil. And Roy Schroeter again will be having... Oh, Kuriala's gone off! Kuriala's gone off! Now, Kuriala was battling with Maciej Mlinek. I think, though, Kuriala's done this on his own. He's gone through Luffield. The car is unsettled in the mid part of the corner. He's got the car set up again, but the back end comes around. And Tumas Kuriala is now all the way down the order. What a disaster for Kuriala. He has rejoined the circuit, by the way, behind Thomas Andrea Mariosa in the downforce car. So with spins for Vazil and for Tumas Kuriala, Wright has moved up to 6th position. Breslin has moved up to 8th place. Terence Grech has got past Joseph to move up into 9th place. And Mike Quint begins the 11th lap. So this is going well for Chris Shepherd as he now moves into 4th position, but he's not far behind Roy Schroeter now. But just look at what the little bit of rain and the unsettling of different positions has done to Mike Quint's lead. He now leads by 7 seconds to David Yunt. That is absolutely phenomenal. So it looks as though there are going to be 2 Scuderia Basilia winners, but it's going to be Maciej Mlinek and Mike Quint. Now, change of position further back. Now, it's Clemens Wilt. Now, Thomas Andrea Mariosa having a bit of a moment there. James Early. Tumas Kuriala struggling. Down to 14th position by the look of it. want to see that again. Andrea Mariosa has run in front of Coriala. I think Andrea Mariosa spun in the final turn. Oh, no, it's Early that spun. Early spun it. So now Coriala has got onto the back of James Early, and I get the feeling that now he's going to want to try and get the slipstream down the Wellington Straight. Tumas Coriala working hard. Clemens Wilt trying to get away. Here comes Coriala up the inside of James Early. Early drifts wide. And this is a chance for Coriala around the outside. He leaves no room for manoeuvre. Early car planted to the inside. Coriala sweeps around the outside. Early spins it on the exit. Nothing Coriala did wrong there at all for me. But Early just lost it, trying to get the car back up to speed. Demetrius goes through. Sousa Ferreira's too far away to get through. Wow, what battles in the Formula Challenge. Absolutely amazing racing. But that was a great overtaking move for Coriala for my money. Absolutely brilliant. So now, Quint leads Junt, Schroeten, Shepard, Maciej Minek back to 5th position. What a race he's had. Jaden Wright in 6th from Roy Vazil. Breston 8th, Grech is 9th from Joseph. Then it's Wilt, Andrea Mariosa, Coriala, Demetrius Early, Sousa Ferreira, Onwin, Koenig, De Kuytis, Menno Klont. Now, I'm not sure if Klont has come into the pits again to change tyres. No, he hasn't. He's stayed out there. That's brave, Menno. Rian Hoekstra 21st, Ryan Nash 22nd. Now, Roy Schroeten is actually getting away from Chris Shepard. He's pulling out a gap to the Stax Racing driver, trying to stretch out an advantage as the sky gets dark again. Now, Shepard just had a small off-track moment. That's why Schroeten has been able to pull out the gap again. Thanks to Gerdiner for keeping me up to date with that one. I didn't see that. Jeffrey Fournier writes, is it a bit wet offline or are they doing it on their own? Difficult one. Not entirely sure how things are working out. But it looks to me as though the racing line is still the way to go. I don't know if it's that bad offline. Might quit. Car travelling a lot in the apex, though, having said that. David Junt, plenty of curb in 2nd place. Almost lost the car himself. Maybe it is a bit wetter offline than we first realised. Mlinek, Wright, Vazil, Breslin, Grech and Joseph rounding out the top 10 behind Chris Shepard. Wilt, Andrea Mariosa, Coriala in 13th now to Nicholas Demetrius. James Early, Sousa Ferreira, Onwin, Koenig, Hoekstra, De Kuytis, Klont and Nash. Now, how is Menno Klont able to be this competitive on intermediates when everybody else is on dry? This is unbelievable. Klont up the inside of De Kuytis. De Kuytis turns in. Klont is able to keep the place. De Kuytis goes back to the inside. Menno's going to get tipped into a spin. No, he's not. Ha ha! Menno Klont holds fast. Absolutely brilliant. Menno Klont driving around with relatively decent lap times here, despite being on the wrong tyre. How's he doing it? What are his lap times like? Menno Klont, the only guy out there on intermediates. Well, his last lap time, to be fair, was a 1:55.0 compared to everybody else on 1:45s. So he's really struggling. Oh, looks like we've had another bit of a change in position somewhere along the line. We'll try and pick it up. Thomas Andrea Mariosa's made up a place. He's got past Clemens Wilt. So Andrea Mariosa making up an overtaking move. And similarly, Koenig makes one on Casper Onwin further back. And Clemens Wilt tries to throw it back up the inside of Andrea Mariosa. Has to slam on the brakes. It's not going to happen. And Andrea Mariosa remains in 11th position as we go into the final lap. Mike Quint looking good to make it 2 wins for Scuderia Basilia today. And for Mike Quint, it will be his 3rd win of the season. Out of Beckett's for the last time. It's been a bit more of a chaotic race, but we're not done yet in 3rd. Shepard is caught right up to the back of Roy Schroeten, and he's pushing it to the limit, trying to get that 3rd position, and he might just make it. Junt is a bit slow as well. Mike Quint is going to come through, though, to take the checkered flag. He won't quite lap Nash before the end, but a 22-car finish in what has been an absolutely incredible motor race. Mike Quint comes out of the final corner, and 2 wins out of 2 for Scuderia Basilia at Silverstone. 1 for Mlinek and 1 for Mike Quint. Great result. David Junt is going to come through in 2nd. Roy Schroeten in 3rd. Shepard in 4th. But if there was one more lap, I think Shepard might have found his way to the podium. Maciej Minek picks up some seriously good points there in 5th position. Damaged imitation as Jaden Wright picks up, I think, the best result for a downforce driver this year in 6th place. Roy Vazil is 7th. Oh, Tumas Coriala spins with Clemens Wilt on the last lap. And Coriala's going to get 12th. So there could be some post-race investigations there. Roy Vazil 7th from Greg, Preston, Joseph, Andrea Mariosa, Coriala, Clemens Vilt. And it looks as though there's been a couple of changes of position further back as well. But Coriala comes home in 12th place behind Andrea Mariosa. Vilt in 13th. James Early, a very disappointed 14th place in front of Nicholas Dimitris. Bruno Sousa Ferreira is 16th from Philip Koenig. Casper Onwin. Rian Koikstra will be 19th from Lorenzo de Coitis. Ryan Nash. And Menno Klont spins into Cobb's corner on the last lap. Menno Klont, the car loses it big style. That just shows you what happens when you go onto intermediate tyres on a dry track. You are basically driving around on ice skates. Blindfolded. Poor Menno Klont. It was a good gamble, but it was never going to happen. Menno Klont, again, he's just trying to bring it to the line and he spins out of Beckett's. Oh, Menno. This is actually painful to watch. Well, it's an interesting one as Menno Klont desperately tries to bring the car home. He's actually got the finishers of the race have already overtaken him. Jaden Wright looks absolutely delighted with P6, the Australian, weaving down the straight. But what an absolutely dismal end to the race for Menno Klont as he comes into the chicane for the last time. He will come home very, very slowly compared to the rest of the runners. But let's cheer him home anyway. Well done, Menno. Good try. Just didn't get the strategy right as he spins over the line. And he actually needs to go backwards over the line. He does actually go backwards over the line. The last person to do that was... the last person to go backwards over the finish line at the end of a race was Ricky Bobby, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, Menno. Well, that is it from the Formula Challenge weekend at Silverstone. It was a crazy second race. It was a frustrating first race for many. But now we need to see if there's anybody to chat to after a very exciting race. Let's get Mike Pittman, who set us up at the start of proceedings in there. Mike, I don't know where to start. That was an absolutely gripping with two races. I'm not sure if I have got Mike Pittman in, actually. I thought I did, but Mike is not around. Mike, just jump in whenever you can, my friend. But yeah, a difficult one there in those two races. The Scuderia Brasilia drivers picking up victories, one apiece, and a very, very difficult race. So many drivers complaining about driving standards. I wonder if Mike Pittman is in now. Mike? No, my apologies. So hopefully we'll hang around for a couple of minutes' time waiting for an interview. David Yunt is in the interview room, so we'll grab a word with David Yunt after an incredible pair of races. David, race one, frustrating, but the reverse grid came to you and you picked up a very healthy second place. That's really good for the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't see it actually. I mean, I didn't saw it coming. I just had to, when race one came around, I made the mistake that I was looking for if I had like launch control mapped, and instead I think I shut off my car, and even though I pressed like the right button for start and ignition, I couldn't get it going again. So I went to the had to start from the pit lane, and if I had known that, I had changed my setup because it didn't feel right, but I didn't want to lose P17, so it was coming back around to bite me. But it was kind of, you could say, maybe, I don't know, like Final Destination stuff going on there. Coming out the pits, cars are everywhere, just like trying to pass them, and I'm coming through and I'm P13 after like a few turns, so I was like thinking, that's okay. After that, I was just following Koenig and trying to keep up with his pace because the car didn't quite work out. I started to at least try to keep my tires well, but there was not really pace. We couldn't catch Joseph and Wild in time, so I was happy with P10 after people spun off, and getting a reverse second was also quite well. And I'd say if it hadn't been for some battles behind me and Mike, for some instance, I was quite sure I would have been P4 at best, but I managed to get enough of the tires out, and I was a bit lucky when I was out of nowhere. I mean, before the race, I said, "Oh, I would like some rain," But when it came down to it, started raining a bit more than just drizzling. I was like, that's the bad time for rain now, because I can't decide if I should stay out or not. But at least it stopped, so I managed to keep my tires well enough to keep second. So it was kind of amazing being chased by Roy and Chris.
And that's an important one in terms of championship as well, because you got some good points there in the bag. It was a tricky race. What was it like when the rain came down? Were you starting to think about the possibility of changing tyres? You must have been quite nervous at that point.
Yeah, I started to become nervous. Actually, the funny thing was like our team boss David Zweidog is like saying, "Is that rain?" And I'm like, "What?" And I'm looking at the percentage, it's already 5%, and I'm, oh, that's interesting. I didn't even really see it coming. Then it became dark, and I still couldn't really see the rain coming down. But I was like telling myself, like 20%, and it keeps raining, and it gets heavy. Then you should pit, but the grip didn't decrease enough, and I had a gap. And when it came down, I just like said, if the rain percentage isn't high enough to make like the wet line on the dry line, which doesn't show because there's a bug with the object over the track. If it doesn't get even more than 20, and if it's like stays then still dry, then I'm not gonna pit. So I was just like at least staying on the racing line and get the grip down, so not to spin, because that would have been embarrassing. So yeah, it worked out just about.
Absolutely. Well done, David. Some great points on the bag there. Congratulations, and we'll catch you up next time.
Thank you very much. See ya.
Right, let's move over to the first race winner, Maciej Minek. Maciej, first of all, the qualifying lap from heaven for you. You got into the lead, and we never really saw you again after that.
Yeah, that lap was pretty good, but it was possible to go even quicker. And yeah, after the start, at the beginning of second sector, I had small contact with Roy, and I apologized to him for that. And after that, I tried to break the slipstream. When this happened, I had very calm race to end.
So obviously that meant that you would end up 11th on the grid for the second race. That first couple of corners must have been an absolute fright for you, with so many cars going in so many different directions. How did you pick your way through?
I just saw the gap on the outside. I went a bit off the track, but slowed down to not overtake someone off the track, and just came back on the track so that I gained some positions and tried to hold what I've gained and attack people in front.
It was absolutely incredible to watch, and for you, some really important race points to have picked up as well, and particularly for the championship fight. This basically extends your advantage.
Yes, that's my main target for every race, to be in front of Roy to extend the gap, and I think I'm doing it well.
Wow, we think so too. Absolutely brilliant job, and well done, Maciej. Great performance. Let's talk now to Menno Clant after his entertaining day at the office, shall we say. First of all, Menno, a podium in race one. Really good work from the Two Stacks Racing cars, and that must have been a really good way to start the weekend.
Well, yeah, that was actually very good because I qualified in 11th position. I started in 8th on the grid for race one, and yeah, I got P3 because I was a bit lucky, so I can't complain at least about race one. No.
So yeah, absolutely fantastic. And then of course you had a difficult start to the race in P1. I'm guessing you were just one of the innocent bystanders in that first race. I mean, what is your opinion of the driving standards in this race as a result of what happened in race two?
Well, it's of course difficult to judge, and a mistake is of course difficult to make because you are going close and wheel to wheel. But from a personal point, actually, I'm really not happy about this. And well, this is the following. Of course, like everybody here, you try to win or get podiums like in race one or to win a race. And I'm aiming for that every race. I'm putting my standards very high, but the whole season, this is I think the 8th round. Every race two, I had some incidents, and well, most of the time it's without my fault. And sometimes I also make a mistake, but yeah, and today it happened again. And yeah, I'm really really unhappy about it because I feel there's much more in, but it's very very difficult. Yeah, I just have a lot of bad luck, and yeah, I see other people who I love to battle, like Mike Quint or David Junt here and Chris Shepard, to battle them in the championship. But yeah, with those bad luck. In my second races, I'm losing a lot of points. So for myself, I'm really displeased. And even though I got a podium in race 1, which I'm thrilled about because we had a double podium for stacks. It was just a disappointing weekend because I hoped to break the bad luck thing actually, and yeah, it didn't happen.
I've got to ask as well. I mean, I don't want to draw too much light on it, but I have to ask, Menno, what is it like driving around the Silverstone circuit on intermediates on a dry track? Because that looked particularly scary out there.
Well, for the first laps it was really fun. Well, yeah, because of the crash in turn 3 in the first lap, I was out of the points, and then I saw rain coming, and well, yeah, I was out of the points. I was like 17th or 18th, so I could have, I should have gone for a gamble, and well, actually I did. So yeah, I think it was the right call at the moment. But yeah, I think if I stayed on dries, I wouldn't have had points. So I hoped for more rain, and it actually was really funny to drive. But when it dried out, and yeah, even more, I destroyed the tires in the last 1.5 laps. Yeah, I just spun every 3-4 corners, but that's then the
well, I have to say as well, Menno, congratulations to you for crossing the line in reverse, Ricky Bobby style. That was incredibly good fun. And thank you very much for ending the race on a high note. I mean,
yeah, well, I needed that after the trouble in race 2.
Menno Klomp, thank you very much indeed. A great podium in race 1, and thank you for all the entertainment in race 2. Good stuff. Let's talk to Roy Schroeton. Roy, this could have been a very interesting race for you, and you obviously needed to try and get as many points back to Matej Medek as you could. It just ended up being 2 very frustrating races for you all in all.
Oh yeah, I tried to catch up a little bit with Matej, but that qualifying lap really scared me. And when he says that he can go even faster in the races, I don't want him to go faster. I want it to be a close battle, but at the moment I can stay behind him, but then I can't really seem to catch up with him just that little bit in order to try and overtake him. And the first few corners, they were very exciting, going side by side. I was happy I could keep it in a straight line, but it's the close battling, and it's good in this series. It's what makes it fun to drive in as well. Then I just stayed in second. I pushed very hard to try and keep up with Matej, but in the end I lost some time, and then I got a little bit too fixated on the back marker through Beckett's and Meckett. And yeah, I lost the car and I spun off. Then trying to rejoin, I stayed to the left of the track, but still some people were going full speed. I don't really know who's to blame there.
Yeah, I was going to talk to you about that actually, because obviously the argument there is that, you know, you've joined the track on the left side of the circuit where, you know, the best that you can position yourself. You've got guys coming past you in a yellow flag zone, still going flat to the throttle as if nothing's happening. I mean, how do you call something like that?
Well, yeah, when it first happened, I was very scared. I was doing a dangerous rejoin, but then when looking at the replay, I guess I stayed to the left, but well, I shouldn't have spun in the first time, so I don't really mind what happened after. But yeah, well, you know, yellow flags in the sim racing, they just nobody really cares about them. You can see it in the other races as well. When something on one is spinning around, everybody just keeps full throttle on it. I have to say I've done it in the past as well. I've had some beautiful videos about that on YouTube, but I guess it's not really the point of the yellow flags. And maybe some penalties should be given in the future when some rule says that you have to take care of the yellow flags, because we want to be as close to the real racing as possible, and that is respecting flags as well.
Okay, so the second race, it was another difficult one because you really had to be very careful where you put your car, but there were times when it just got a little bit too close as well. Do you think driving standards as a whole need to be addressed?
Well, yeah. Well, Formula Challenge always is a place where you can start learning your driving, and there's a lot of young people or people who want to prove themselves in this series, and that's sometimes makes it a little bit too aggressive from some people to try and prove themselves to desperately get on the podium. And then for me, yeah, this was my 200th race. I'm not really supposed to be in here as like a rookie. I'm quite a veteran here, trying just to have some fun. But yeah, sometimes maybe some drivers are a little bit too aggressive, but I haven't really had too much trouble with it. I haven't been crashed or anything, but I guess that the ones like Menno, he will be a little bit more frustrated. I've just been able to avoid all the spinning and all the crashing, so I can't really tell that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really be too hypocritical when it comes to driving standards. I mean, I know my one foray into the Formula Challenge was absolutely appalling as a driver, so I know I can't really judge on driving standards. But yeah, absolutely fantastic job anyway today, Roy. A shame about the results, and hopefully we'll pick it up again for next time. But well done.
Yeah, I'm still happy with coming from P13 to P3, so I can't compare really that much. I haven't had that much practice because I graduated from university yesterday.
Oh, congratulations. Congratulations, Roy.
So I hope to be able to practice that little bit more to maybe try and beat Mathieu, but we'll see.
Right, watch out, Mathieu. He hasn't got any studies to focus on anymore. He's coming for you.
My exams now.
Right, the battle really is on for the second half of the season. Roy Schroeter, thank you very much indeed. Right, let's move on to our next interview. Tuomas Koreala is in the room. Tuomas, oh, this could have been such a strong weekend for you. I mean, front row of the grid in qualifying. There were high hopes that maybe you could take it to Mathieu in the race. What happened? What went wrong?
Which one? Which race?
Yeah, to be fair, but both were a bit of a nightmare. I mean, the first start was a very difficult one. I mean, you ended up down to 5th position, and it was just so difficult trying to pick it up from there.
Yeah, I was just being very careful, because I was fighting at the top. I just didn't want to mess it up, so I just dropped a little bit back, and then I just tried to keep up, but I couldn't.
And then, of course, you move into the second race later. There were some great opportunities and great overtakes, but it just seemed like you were hitting a brick wall at times when you were trying to overtake other drivers. I mean, is this something, again, we've raised this question already. Is this something that we need to address a little bit?
Well, yeah, it's just the dirty air. It's so heavy that you really cannot overtake that easily. You really have to look for the opportunity. It's very hard to stay behind.
And how did you see personally the incident between yourself and Roy Schroeter in race 1? You both put, really convincing arguments on both sides to this one. Do you think it was just one of those things, or is it something that needs to be looked into?
Well, it could either be a misjudging from either, or it was a racing incident. But to be fair, I was battling with Menno, so I didn't want to lift there, and Roy just jumped in, and well, there you go. I did a wheelie.
Well, hopefully you'll keep all 4 wheels on the ground next time we go out in Formula Challenge, Tuomas. But thank you so much, and I'm sure the MDR boys will make it for next time, and we should see you back to your best again. We hope for that.
Yeah, we'll see when I'll get back because I'm a reserve driver.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll see you back in the championship again as soon as possible. Let's conclude with one more interview from the races. Chris Shepherd has joined us in the room. Chris, well, entertaining? Is that a useful word to describe your afternoon's work?
Yeah, you could say that. Firstly, Jake, good to have you back, mate. It's always
I'm delighted to be
nice.
back, mate. I'm very, very honoured.
Yeah, it was entertaining, to be honest. I had good pace. Yeah, it was entertaining. What can I say?
Well, the first race, I mean, you kind of had to bide your time and wait for it to happen. Around second position under the circumstances. Pretty good work, really.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, absolutely gutted for Roy, to be honest. His 200th race would have been nice for him to get the second place. But don't get me wrong, I'll take the second. But it would have been nice. And to be fair, at the start, I didn't really want to try and attack Roy, even though after things settled after 3 or 4 laps, I just didn't quite have the pace. 1 or 2 temps off of them, they were just slowly pulling away. But yeah, I was hoping that he was going to start fighting with Massey Edge, and then I could catch him towards the end, because I feel I was a bit quicker towards the end, because I went for a reasonably high downforce, because you can go 2 ways at this track. You can go for the straights, or you can go for the Maggots and Beckett section. And yeah, I was very quick through there. But yeah, a couple of attempts towards the end per lap, I think I was closing, but just wasn't enough.
And then the second race, it could have been so much better. I mean, there were great opportunities forward. You were in the top 6 at one point, and it all fell apart. What actually happened out there?
Yeah, well, I mean, I spent 2 laps behind Roy Vazil, and I could see that the leader was getting away. And it's only what was it, 13 laps? So you just at the end you got to go for a move. And to be honest, I'm quite disappointed. I went up the inside, I kept it tight, but Roy admittedly didn't like the move and said that he just left me as little room as possible. So inevitably there was a little bit of contact. Obviously I was on the curb, so when you're on the curb you just kind of bounce off a little bit towards the other side, and that was it. I just spun around. I think I went down to about 10th, 11th.
And of course, after that point, you're literally just kind of hoping, I guess, for things to happen around you. What happens now then in terms of preparation for the Hungaroring? Do you think things will be much better, much stronger there?
I don't know, to be honest. It's the first time I've driven this car around these tracks. So I have no idea. I generally go reasonably well at most tracks. I know most of these tracks anyway, so it shouldn't take too many laps to hopefully get on the pace. But it's one of them things, you know. It's just at the beginning of the round, you think, oh, is this going to be the race where Massey Edge actually isn't on the pace for once? And then qualifying comes and he just puts in a 41.6.
Everybody's waiting for that one. Everybody's waiting for that one, to be fair.
Fair play to him, man. He's a good driver. He is very good. You know, someone to do well to beat him outright.
Fantastic stuff, Chris. Thank you very much indeed. Tuomas, I think you have a couple to say about the racing at Silverstone today.
Yeah, I do actually. The qualifying was very interesting. Like, I thought I was going for a pole, but then when I just out of the track, I was, it was the right move, because Machier took the ball by 3/10, so I had no chance.
Yeah, so potentially there was a chance for you maybe to get closer to him on the grid. How do you guys get close to Machier now in terms of qualifying pace? Because that's really where a lot of these races are won and lost, is in the quali. I mean, how do you find that little bit of extra pace to us?
Try to leave the breakings as late as possible, then just have confidence through fast turns and, all that basic stuff. It's those little things.
It's a good point, actually, because I've driven this car, the Formula Challenge car. Chris, I want to come to you on this one. I've driven this car, and it's incredibly volatile. You have to be really, really close to the edge, but you have to know what the car is going to do to be on top of it. And it's very, very difficult when you're not sure.
Yeah.
And that's when spins really come. I mean, how do you get on top of a car like this when it is so unpredictable?
I mean, to be honest, I could be wrong, but it kind of works for me. I'll be honest with you, I hardly changed my setup throughout the season. Maybe a bit of wing, but most of it, and the feeling, and I feel more comfortable when I'm just adjusting the steering and the lock for each track. I know a lot of people just tend to keep the same steering rotation because they're used to it, but it's all about just keeping them front wheels smooth, and that's the main thing I concentrate on, if I'm being honest. It's just the steering rotation and lock, just trying to make it feel comfortable. For instance, compared to this track from last track, I had 150 degrees extra rotation compared to what I had last race. So it really is. I think it's there. Who knows?
Fantastic. Well, a really big thank you to all of the drivers who came and spoke to us post-race. A huge thank you to David Junt, to Tuomas Coriala, to Roy Schroten, to Menno Klont, to Chris Shepherd, to all of the drivers. Thank you very much indeed for coming and talking to us about all of the action at Silverstone today. And we'll see you in 2 weeks at the Hungaroring, hopefully, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. That wraps us up for Formula Challenge Racing at Silverstone. Don't worry, because there's more of the same tomorrow night from the Super Cup. And don't forget, of course, there's a pit stop race in the first, and then another mad dash to the checkered flag in the second. Plenty of great racing for them. And of course, you can join myself and Josh Anderson on Thursday night for the big one, the Super League. And it's going to be an absolute cracker. We hope you enjoyed the entertainment from Formula Challenge. That will be back exactly 2 weeks today. at the Hungaroring, one of my favourite racetracks in Grand Prix racing, and the GPVWC, I'm sure, will give it plenty of entertainment. We're almost at the halfway point, but Maciej Minek and Scuderia Basilia in particular are still winners twice here today for Scuderia Basilia, for Mike Quint and Maciej Minek. They are on the top form here at Silverstone. For myself, Jake Sanson, on behalf of David Francic, Mike Pittman, and everybody behind the scenes to put this Formula Challenge broadcast together, we hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks. But don't forget, Super Cup tomorrow will be just as electric. Bye for now.